Hello, before we get started, I just want to let you know that this lecture is part of a full module in our FE Exam Academy. The link can be found in the description. Once you go to the link in the description, you will have access to full resources for passing your FE exam, including a community of like-minded students, as well as a classroom section. As you can see, we have a practice exam, a TI-36X Pro course, as well as each of the topics broken down, mathematics and statistics, engineering economics, and so on. We also have office hours, as you can see here, where you can talk directly to me and ask me any questions that you have for your upcoming exam. I can help you prepare for it so that you are ready to pass. That being said, now let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Hello, welcome to the first section of the Ethics and Professional Practice module. In this case, we are going to be covering the Code of Ethics. The codes of ethics serve as the guiding framework for engineers, ensuring that they prioritize the health, safety, and welfare of the public above all other concerns. The ethical responsibilities required of an engineer in professional practice are outlined in the code. These responsibilities, for example, require an engineer to refuse any requests that could compromise public safety, regardless of financial or contractual pressures. If there's one thing that you need to remember, it's that the number one priority of an engineer is always to maintain the public safety and well-being. Another example of an ethical requirement in engineering practice is to avoid conflicts of interest. A professional engineer must disclose any potential conflicts of interest to ensure that their objectivity and fairness is not compromised. This means that they must disclose any gifts that somebody tried to give them or any pressure being applied to them to cut costs in a way that would impact public safety. Engineers are obligated to act in a manner that preserves trust and transparency. So in this section, we are going to explore scenarios that challenge an engineer's ethical judgment, such as client pressure or ethical dilemmas when dealing with contractors. So we are going to see how we can adhere to the code of ethics in order to maintain integrity in the profession and protect the public from undue risk. Before we begin with the practice problems for this section, I want to point you to a couple of resources. So the first resource is going to be one you're already familiar with. It's the FE Reference Manual. As you can see, we have a whole section on ethics and professional practice. It is on page 4 and it goes all the way to page 12. It has a lot of useful information, and if you ever get stuck on an ethics and professional practice on the exam, you can refer to this and it will be very helpful. So I definitely recommend reading over this section in the reference manual at least one time in order to familiarize yourself with the concepts of ethics and professional practice. We also have another resource, which is the National Society of Professional Engineers website. This website is going to give you the fundamental canons, rules of practice, and professional obligations as a professional engineer. It's a really quick read, so it's not going to take up too much of your time, but it's going to be very informative so that you can familiarize yourself with the main ideas and the key points of ethical responsibilities as an engineer in professional practice. That being said, let's go ahead and go over a few practice problems that will test our knowledge of the engineering codes of ethics. So starting off with question number 1, we are being asked, which of the following best describes the primary duty of an engineer as outlined in the codes of ethics? I went over this concept in the introduction to this section. Once again, always remember the number one priority of an engineer is to safeguard the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Nothing else comes before that. That is always number one, and it always will be. So for this one, the answer is going to be C. So let's take a look at what the other options were just so that we can compare it to our correct answer. So the other options were ensuring the financial success of the project, maximizing client satisfaction, and maintaining strict confidentiality in all aspects of the project. All of those things are important in engineering professional practice. We do want to ensure that the project is successful, the client is satisfied, and we do want to maintain confidentiality in the project. However, this question was specifically asking what the primary duty of an engineer is according to the codes of ethics. And the primary duty is always safeguarding the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So that being said, let's move on to question number 2. Moving on to question number 2, we're now given a real-world scenario So in this case, an engineer is managing the design of a high-rise building in a seismic zone. The client pressures the engineer to reduce the number of structural supports in order to save costs, and that is going to have public safety implications in the case of an earthquake. So the question is, what should the engineer do according to the codes of ethics? So the key takeaway from the scenario that we were given is that the engineer is being pressured to reduce the structural supports, and that is going to cause potential safety implications during an earthquake. And that is something that is completely unacceptable. If we are designing this high-rise building, we obviously know that people are going to be using it. And if we design the building in a way that is not safe in order to reduce costs, we are going to be directly putting people in danger. That goes directly against the number one priority of an engineer according to the codes of ethics, which is to maintain the public safety and public well-being. So our options are A, agree to reduce the supports as long as the client signs a waiver. B, explain the safety risks to the client and refuse to compromise on structural integrity. C, proceed with the client's request but document it in case of future legal issues. Or D, we can seek approval from a third-party engineer to sign off on the design changes. The best option out of all of those is going to be B, because B has us refusing to compromise on the structural integrity. All of the other options were kind of workarounds to proceed with reducing the supports, and if we reduce the supports, it was going to put people in direct danger. So our only option is to refuse to compromise on the structural integrity in order to prioritize the public safety. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on to question number 3. Moving on to question number 3, we have another real world scenario. In this case, the engineer is overseeing a major highway construction project and he realizes that the subcontractor used substandard materials for a part of a bridge. The client is unaware and the project is nearing completion. What action should the engineer take in this situation? So our options are A, report the issue to the client and propose solutions despite potential delays in cost. B, ignore the issue since the materials may still meet potential safety standards. C, allow the project to proceed and monitor the situation in case problems arise in the future. Or D, quietly replace the materials without notifying the client to avoid delays. So in the first two problems, we covered the fact that our number one priority is to ensure the public safety. In this question, that is also a fact, because if we allow the substandard materials to be used on the bridge, that is obviously going to put people in danger. So that gives us a hint to the fact that our correct answer is going to be A. We do need to notify the client and propose solutions. Allowing the project to continue with substandard materials is definitely a no-go. There is another reason, however, why we need to inform the client. So here is the number one priority that we have as engineers. Like I said, it is to hold the safety, health, and welfare of the public. However, if you scroll down, you can also see engineers shall act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees, and engineers shall avoid deceptive acts. So in this case, we have more than one reason why we need to inform the client, and that is in order to maintain public safety and to uphold our responsibilities to the client themselves. So in this case, our answer is going to be A. Moving on to question number 4. Now we are being asked, why is it important for engineers to disclose conflicts of interest according to the codes of ethics? So our options are A, to protect our reputation from false allegations, B, to ensure transparency and maintain the objectivity of our decisions, C, to avoid violating any client confidentiality agreements, or D, to minimize legal liabilities in case of a dispute. So this one is a little tricky because all of these are important reasons to avoid conflicts of interest. However, there is a number one most important reason why we need to avoid conflicts of interest in professional engineering practice, and that is going to be B, to ensure transparency and maintain objectivity in engineering decisions. The reason this is so important is because conflict of interest can influence an engineer's judgment. This outside influence could come from a conflict of interest due to personal gain or personal relationships. Whatever the case is, any conflict of interest is a compromise of an engineer's judgment, decision-making, and objectivity. And a compromise of any of those three things can lead to very dangerous outcomes and put a lot of people in danger. Remember, the professional engineering practice serves the public every single day, and they trust us to not have conflict of interest in order to maintain objectivity and transparency in our decisions. So that being said, let's move on to question number 5. So moving on to question number 5, this is going to be our last question for this Codes of Ethics section. And in this case, we are going to have a scenario that tests what we just learned about conflict of interest. So let's see what it says. So the question says, an engineer is responsible for selecting subcontractors for a major infrastructure project, and he receives an expensive gift from a subcontractor who is one of the candidates for the project. The subcontractor hints that the gift is a token of appreciation and expresses hope for a fruitful partnership. There's no explicit demand for preferential treatment, but the implication is clear. The engineer knows that accepting gifts from potential contractors can create a conflict of interest and possibly influence the fairness of the subcontractor selection process. So the question is, what is the most ethical action for the engineer to take? So our options are A, we can accept the gift to avoid offending the subcontractor and make it clear that the selection process will remain unbiased. We can decline the gift, explaining that it could create a perception of bias. C, we can accept the gift and ensure that the subcontractor is selected, justifying that their bid is competitive and that the gift will not affect the project's quality. Or D, we can report the incident to the company's ethics committee or supervisor without declining the gift and continue considering the subcontractor for the project. So there are 2 options that we can immediately remove from the selection process, and that is going to be A and C, because those 2 options had us accepting the gift. Accepting the gifts would create a conflict of interest due to the fact that our judgment and objectivity would be influenced directly by personal gain provided to us by the subcontractor in this case. So therefore, we do need to decline the gift. If we take a closer look at option D, it looks like the engineer also accepted the gift in that option. So that one is also going to be incorrect. So in that one, the engineer accepted the gift and continued to consider the contractor, but he reported the incident. Even though the engineer did report the behavior, he still accepted the gift and created a conflict of interest, so that's not a good option either. So therefore, the only acceptable option that the engineer has in this case is going to be B. The engineer needs to politely decline the gift and explain that this could create a perception of bias in the subcontractor selection process. So that brings us to the end of this section on the codes of ethics. I hope that these problems were really useful to test your knowledge of ethics and professional practice in engineering. As an engineer, there's a lot of ethical responsibilities that come with the profession, but I just want to highlight one more time the most important ethical responsibility of an engineer, and that is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the public. That is always the number 1 priority as an engineer. Keep that in mind as you go forward in your engineering career, and obviously keep it in mind for your FE exam. So that being said, we're ready to move on to our next section of ethics and professional practice, and that is going to be on professional liability. So when you're ready, I'll see you there.